Hello, everyone. How are you? I invite Lee, your Tai Chi examiner. Today, I have the honor and pleasure to have Dr. Teri Baydar in with us to discuss a very important topic, which is called love consciousness in leadership and shifting from competitive, fear-based thinking to a more cooperative and holistic approach. And so first, and Dr. Bader, would you like to introduce yourself to the audience?
Sure. Thank you, Violet, for having me. I appreciate it very much. It's a pleasure to be here. Um, I am a, leadership coach mostly, um, and author. I talk about consciousness and I take my clients through a shift in consciousness. And of course, we end up talking a lot about energy. We also talk a lot about yin and yang. And many of my executives and CEOs, because I work a lot with CEOs of small, medium enterprises, are uh, Qigong, Tai Chi, martial arts practitioners. They're
Interesting,
yogis. They're also
interesting,
yogis.
very, very
Yes.
interesting. Well, everyone, the way I got to know Dr. Bader was through a couple of the retreats, and the retreats were hosted by Immortal Sisters. And during the retreat, I learned a little bit about Dr. Bader and know about her experience. And so when she is going to talk about this issue about uh, consciousness, then I got very intrigued. And also, I was wondering the relationship between so-called consciousness and also the the energy work. And so you just mentioned about many of your clients and who's trying to get a coach about the life and about career, about leadership, but at the same time, they're also the practitioner of the healing art of Tai Chi, Qigong, and yoga. That's very, very interesting. And so maybe you can share a little bit about yourself and with us, and how's your personal journey of learning the healing art?
Sure. Yes. So, a couple of things. First off, I was born with basically clairvoyance. So that was one thing that through my life, I'm like, how do I know things? What's happening? This sense of precognition and things like that, and a lot of intuition. And then later in life, it all sort of fit together when I started in my adult years doing martial arts and then really being in a place of understanding the different natures of energy. Like there are different kinds of energy. And then they're teaching me about energy centers. And then I started looking at the Ayurvedic. And then I started looking at the what the Indians did, the indigenous Indians of America, and they have these, and then the subtle bodies and the mudras, and I ended up doing a doctorate in divinity in metaphysics by the time I
Wow.
was done looking at
Uh-huh.
all this. And so then also understanding mental emotional landscapes, how thought, feeling, and energy intermingle. And having a system that wasn't a particular one system allowed me to work with people at a very high level, mentally and emotionally, that are doing the work in this system or that system or another
Hmm.
system. So I could switch vocabulary, and it was okay to
Hmm.
talk to someone who was Hindu, somebody who was a Taoist, somebody who was a Buddhist, or even somebody who is a mystical Christian, having also those practices, be they physical movement or meditation,
Hmm.
sitting meditation. Yeah, so
Interesting. So you
that's
mentioned there
actually
are
how.
many different kind of energies. Can you specify it a little bit for us? Well, actually, for me, okay, and I think I'm how should I say? We're really benefiting from your teaching.
Mm, no, I think I benefited from your teaching, Violet, I would
Well,
say.
I practice Tai Chi and Qigong, and so a lot of the energy I'm focusing on is so-called these more first layer of the physical type of energy, and then the mental energy, and then these are all within myself. Of course, we in especially in qigong practice, a lot of time we want to try to incorporate so-called universal energy, but that's um, to a great degree is still abstract for a lot of people, and sometimes we don't really feel it. And like say the energy within my body, the chi field, and so forth. So when you are talking about uh, different kind of energies, and I was just curious and how you classify them, which way you look at it.
What I usually do is I try to fit into the person's system when I'm working with a person. So, for example, a Hindu will have an idea where it's going to be probably very chakra based. They're going to have different chakras, which have different granular aspects of weight, for example. So the lower chakras would be considered like gravel, moving up into higher granularity until it's powder, until it's just a puff of smoke as we go up and through the layers. And so
I
they
see.
have a stacked layer system. Now I
Interesting.
know from
Mhm.
practicing, the healing arts and Taoism here in Boston with my friends at the Boston Healing Tao. I know, like we're working with the three dantian, and when I've worked with the martial artists and internal arts, we're really dealing with the three dantian. But a Hindu system can have 7 or 11 chakras, you know, and then they'll
Yes.
take it
Mhm.
down to a system where they have nadi, which is the down to the pinpoint where you have millions of chakras, which are pinpoints all over your body.
So is that kind
Like
of similar to the Chinese medicines, like pressure points, all those things, 穴道?
so, yeah, so you'll find like they have meridians and channels, the Buddhists in sitting
Mm-hmm.
meditations. I myself practice mostly Buddhist sitting meditation, but I
Mm-hmm.
am looking at the different channels. Now, those channels look different from the meridians of the Hindu or Chinese, but they're still meridians. The Native American Indians have channels too, or
Very,
meridians,
very, very interesting.
right? There's
Yes.
a
Uh-huh.
a book called Subtle Bodies
Uh-huh.
by I think it's Dale. So she goes into the different cultural aspects
Mm-hmm.
comparatively of the different energy centers and meridians and things like that. Yeah. Yeah.
So, well, now let's back to the speech or the webinar which you're going to host, and then my understanding, and that will be done at the Institute of Coaching, and which is like affiliate of Harvard University, but of course nowadays Harvard may not be a good thing. People want to associate with. But anyway, and your topic is love consciousness in leadership, right? And did I say the
Right.
correct?
Yes.
So maybe you can help me to understand the topic and by breaking down. So first of all, when we say consciousness, well, what's the consciousness has anything to do with energy?
Right.
Don't forgive me if this question sounds too stupid.
No, no, I think it's a great question because it is still so very open. I mean, if you try to Google consciousness or you look up Wikipedia consciousness, you'll get so many different representations, interpretations, and meanings of what is consciousness. So, for this purpose of what I do and how I take people through transformation, we simplify consciousness down, and I will give you an example of a metaphor of what we're meaning. Okay, so if you think of an old-fashioned projector on the film projector,
Sure. Mm-hmm.
you have the light coming inside the projector, and then you have the film that's passing. And then
Uh-huh.
you have the projection of what's in the film that the light is showing through the film to make the projection of what's happening in
Yes.
the
Uh-huh.
movie.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? So with that metaphor, what's happening in the movie on the
Uh-huh.
screen, that's your life. That's your
Okay.
life. What you're living, what you're experiencing, your interactions, all of that. The film is your set of representations, your mental narratives, what you've learned, who you've become, what you do with yourself in a day. That's your movie. That's your choice of what is on the film of your life. Your
Yes.
consciousness is the pure light that is in the camera that is there. So consciousness in itself is just pure light.
So
And
is the
then
okay.
So what I'm gonna go to the next step so we can then dig in. So pure consciousness is the light of your being. Okay? It's pure when you're born, whatever, or maybe a little bit before you're born. And then you're choosing through choices or through learning. Maybe you have a black and white film, which I tend to call war consciousness. And maybe you have a film in color, which I tend to call love consciousness. And that applies and is mirrored between left brain function and right brain function, where left brain is there's right, there's wrong, there's good, there's bad, there's me, there's you, there's
Mm-hmm.
um uh there's I win, you lose. Like that is war consciousness. It is absolute, it is black and white, and it is divided. That's how the left brain works. And
And
so
I'm not
as you're
going to blink in the war. I'm not going to blink. Just
kind
kidding.
of, yes. Yeah, that was true. And then the love consciousness, which actually sort of is the energy that runs through, or the consciousness that runs through the right brain, is it is multidimensional constellation fashion thinking. It is open, it is
Mm-hmm.
flexible, it is in flow and movement, and it's not looking for right and wrong. It asks open questions. What is optimal here? What is the best thing to do? How would we get there? Who would help us? And what is our motivation for doing it in the first place? And that's where it's a higher level of thinking and feeling that goes through the right brain, right mind. And that's how I lay it out for executives because they can be coming from any system of thought, any belief system, any kind of training, military, MBA, whatever training they've had. This gives them a simple representation of what is pure consciousness, what is war consciousness, and what is love consciousness.
So, okay, so there are three different kind of conscious or three different levels. Of, I don't know how you want to call it. So do all of us have all these three different kinds? And then if it's say it's all the same or it's different. And then when these three different kind of consciousness play together or they don't play together, and the results different. Am I
Yeah.
getting getting
hmm
somewhere?
So
This is
your
a
pure
new to
consciousness, yeah, your pure consciousness is neutral, innocent consciousness when you're that you're born with or that is at your core.
so that
Okay?
everyone is the same.
Yeah, everybody has that.
Okay.
But then we pile on top of it social and psychological constructs, mental
Mhm,
patterns, mental narratives,
mhm,
trauma, experiences in life. We create systems within ourselves to make us more open or closed.
mhm,
We seek to be significant or we seek to make a difference or not. We seek
mhm,
safety. All of these things come into play. But the basic line is
mhm.
if you're thinking primarily from right, wrong, win, lose, me, you are in war consciousness. And I'm sure you know this, that kind of energy or imprint of who you're being is wrought for setting you up for conflict because that kind of thinking, that kind of defensiveness, that kind of rigidity, right and wrong, black and white thinking, it sets you up to be in conflict and to be divided within yourself and from other people.
So uh, now you're going to have this very important and speech and talking the love consciousness in leadership. Why matters?
Mm. Because why does it matter? Yes, because
Yeah.
so much of what we do in business is based in war consciousness because we're looking to have a certain outcome, right? Which is an extraction economic system where we want to extract something, gain something, profit from someone else's work, rather than a transactional system where we're helping each other, adding to each other, and building something together, which is for the greater good for ourselves, for everybody included. There's a great book on that called Locust and Bees, where he's actually laying out the two fundamental kinds of capitalism that can happen in business. And one is extraction based, and that's where the locust, he calls it locust capitalism. And
Uh-huh.
the other one is creation based, added value,
Hmm.
which is called, which he calls the bees.
Okay. Interesting. Yeah.
Beautiful book if you're really interested in why this matters in business, to think about war consciousness and love consciousness. He doesn't talk about it in my terms, he talks about it in economic terms.
Hmm.
And I'm saying, hey, if we want to get to this other level of doing business and creating a harmonious society, we've got to leave behind war consciousness and put it in its place. We'll still have it because we'll still have a left brain. But we have to
Yeah.
lead with the right brain. We have to lead with a different way of thinking and being in life that
Hmm.
is much larger
Hmm.
and more complex and more creative.
Yes, but look at the modern economy, and especially if we are looking at those companies which is they have their stock sold at the market, and it's a lot of time is very short term, and people look at it, what I'm going to make this quarter, right? And
Hmm.
sometimes this month. In this day of age, information is so fast, and then, so they are looking at a very short term, and the so a lot of time it seems the war consciousness and probably will play a big part, and they will try to be somebody out in a short run
Yeah.
and make the number looks good, and the the CEOs and or the presidents of the company, and that they not necessarily have a huge stake in the company, right? They are employees, and but they will be rewarded if the stock market goes up or their stock goes up, and then their bonus tied into to that so-called performance. And so it seems to me, maybe I'm just, I don't know, a lot of time in the war consciousness probably get them ahead and keep them there. And then, so you are going to talk about the love consciousness and how would that persuade anyone and want to do this. And I heard you were saying, if we are building some coalition and we work with each other and we can both benefit. Um, but it's really, this is, it's win-win or
Hmm.
not.
That's
And
right.
I think a lot of time, maybe it will go through people's minds. Will that really do me good? And I'm just being a benevolent person or a company. And so in today's world, and we are very competitive globally. It doesn't matter if we want to put the barrier around ourselves with the tariff, but it probably is hard, right? And to do so. So in many ways, we will still be competed at an international and global level. And then how this competition will work and with love consciousness.
So I'm first off, I'm going to feed back to you a little bit about your question.
Okay. I know
Hmm.
it could be just wrong.
No, see, you're looking for right and wrong. Your question is not wrong, but
Okay.
I want you to notice
Uh-huh.
that the underlying assumption
Yes.
about how you're thinking about
Uh-huh.
economics
Mm-hmm.
is based in a what's in it for me.
Uh-huh.
You're assuming that everybody's thinking only that what's in it for me. Okay. That's a very war conscious stance to think that people don't actually care about anything but money and themselves. That's not true.
Okay. But I have worked um, for the corporation for
I
many,
know.
many years, long years.
Yes.
And
Yes.
in those years, and I have seen a lot of things
Yes.
happen. And I was whistleblower a few
Hmm.
times, and the result is what I was
That's
out,
right.
right?
That's right.
So because I
But
was trying to do the right thing,
you were
however,
trying to
the
do good, right?
yes, and the well, at least was my conscience. I
Hmm.
felt like, you know I could not live with my conscience. However, the situation, I was faced, and the leadership was telling me, this is what's good
Yeah,
for the company.
that's
But
right.
again,
And
it's
this
all about
happens,
numbers. Mm,
that's right, Violet, and this is what happens all the time.
mhm,
But there is an awareness that's building up in the world of business that we can't just do it by the numbers all the time. It's not working. It's not working. And why do we have whistleblowers? Why do we have people leaving? Why are people quiet quitting? Why is this next generation quiet quitting? Why is it so hard to get certain people to come
mhm,
into these corporations? People are not stupid. They don't want to live life. They don't want to waste their lives
mhm,
in this war conscious like atmosphere
mhm,
where the only thing that counts is money,
mhm,
getting ahead,
mhm,
materialism and all of
mhm.
these things. People are not stupid. They want fundamentally in their hearts a better life. And a better life doesn't mean more money, a faster car, more expensive clothes, or even going to an Ivy League school. You can go to a regular school and learn the same thing and read the same books and have great teachers, maybe even better. You
Mhm.
don't have to have the pedigree. You don't have to have the expensive, shiny things to get ahead. People know this. Now, we've been brainwashed, and I'm a little up there in years too. So we're a little more brainwashed over time. We have been taught that we have to accumulate this, that we have to have these things. That now newer generations are a little different. And so there's globally a progression. The reason that I have a job doing what I do as a leadership coach, going around telling people that with my book, Flip Your Switch, a user's guide to a whole new mind, like how to think and do differently in a whole new way of being that is holistic, that is not based on how do we scare people or manipulate people into doing what we want them to? How do we
Mhm.
work with people? How do we make win-win? How do all of these different kinds of questions, right? So we have to be careful not to assume that everybody in business only wants to get ahead with money and doesn't actually want to do anything good. There's a
Very
big
nice.
move there's a big movement of a lot of people who want to do good. I one of my clients is actually the founder of the global movement called Founders Live, which is helping entrepreneurs all over the world in over 120 cities worldwide. And these are all people who come in because from love consciousness, they're like, I want to solve a problem that helps people. It might be clean water in their village. It might be making a new piece of AI that helps people who are deaf hear, or works with eye movements to control because somebody's handicapped and can run their computer. There's so many things that so many people are doing because they want to do better, and so this guy made a support system for all of these people all over the world to be able to get education they needed, to get interactions, to get connections, to financiers, all of the things that maybe an entrepreneur needs. And they don't have to go through the old school systems. It's amazing. And the fact that the Institute of Coaches at Harvard McLean chose the subject love consciousness in leadership. I gave them AI and creativity and like some others. No, they said, no, we want you to talk about love consciousness in leadership. And I was like, are you sure? Because like it sounds a little out there, but we know that, I mean, I think I know, and I feel that humanity is shifting. And so this is what's happening in business. We are shifting. And so
It's
we stop having
encouraging. It's encouraging.
Yes. So we can
Mm.
stop having that black and white movie of is it this or is it that? Who's right, who's wrong here? We can let go of the black and white movie and have the colored movie with all the different variety, the rainbow of colors, which includes the black and white,
Uh-huh.
which just becomes two more colors in the rainbow.
Hmm. Well, I can see the impact if the leadership and then can start using so-called love consciousness when they are making decisions, when they lead the company going forward. And I just curious, how do you cultivate that love
Mm,
consciousness? Is that just a switch? Oh, I want to be loving and caring. Oh, so how do people do, and how um, people like myself, and yeah, I'm leadership of myself.
that's right. That's
so
right.
so how do we as individual and then even to cultivate that? Yeah, how does that work?
There's it's not just a switch, and yet it is.
Huh?
Okay.
Interesting.
So yeah, it's very interesting. So um for example, here's an energy example, maybe more for your audience. When I sit down into my meditation mat, right?
Uh-huh.
Now I'm a Buddhist meditator, whatever. But or I can also use a Qigong example. When I sit down on my meditation mat
Hmm.
and I take some breaths,
Hmm.
I can feel my channels opening. I feel it. I can
Uh-huh.
feel what the Buddhists call the wind moving through certain channels. I can
Hmm.
feel, if I have certain thoughts and feelings, I can feel my heart chakra go and open up. I can feel it,
Hmm.
right? I'm also a pranic healer. When I go into pranic healing mode, the palms of my hands get really warm. I can feel the energy flow happening through the palms of my hand. And the
Hmm.
left hand is cold and the right hand is warm because I'm drawing in from the left and pushing out through the right.
I see.
Okay? I'm
Hmm.
talking about it now and it's flaring up right now. It's my hands are doing it. Okay? That
Hmm.
is a switch, right? But where did
Uh-huh.
this like I didn't do that on day one,
Hmm.
right? That switch didn't happen, but now it's a switch because I meditate every day, because I pick up my crystals or do my work every day, because I do every day
Hmm.
something. I have practice.
Hmm. Well, there is a very famous book called "Science of Mindfulness," and then and to show, from the science perspective, from the research, and they prove, and when we're being mindful, and then it has a huge health benefit both for the physical and the mental issues. So
Right.
that's great. So when we are trying to cultivate that love consciousness, so what is the method to do that? Is just doing more meditation and or doing more
No,
qigong or
n- the method's in here.
okay.
The method's in my book. For people who especially do not practice Qigong or they're not a pranic healer or anything, this is for executives. This talks about, it's 52 chapters, 52 weeks, and it talks about the habits that we fall into. It talks about the structure of your mind, the basic structure of consciousness, and a lot of the trapdoors we fall into. Here's one: fake feelings and drama. We have a lot of fake feelings and drama that come from we think that we're justified in feeling a certain way when we have to question. We have to stop and be mindful. Well, what are my feelings? Where are these
Hmm.
feelings coming from? How did I create this narrative? What
Hmm.
is triggering me? Where did I get this idea that I should be upset because the guy in front of me is going slower in the road as I'm driving? Like, where did that idea come from? So we have that is what this is. This is there's three basic steps, and the first step is clear the garbage off of out of your mind,
Uh-huh.
all of the narratives and stories, and move into what we call the mindfulness. And
Uh-huh.
there are a lot of very practical things to do to notice thoughts and narratives that are junk, just junk. Just
Mm-hmm.
like we picked it up somewhere, like a bramble that stuck to our
Mm-hmm.
trousers. Like, get it out of there, clean it up, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Give yourself some room to think, actually think, and
Mm-hmm.
not just repeat the stuff over and over again like a little robot. And so the book is full of like lots of steps and things to do, and it's different for everybody, obviously, because some people don't have the junk. Some people have lots of junk. Some people have to
Oh,
do a
different
lot of
junk,
housekeeping
right?
or different junk. Yeah. So
Yeah,
different cleaning up
I
has to
don't have
happen.
problem with that, but I have the other problem.
That's right. That's right. So we have to clean up our junk. Then we
Mhm,
have to consciously choose. Then we
mhm,
have to follow through. Like
mhm,
if I can sit down on my meditation mat and my heart chakra goes open, it's
mhm,
because I fought with myself hundreds of times simply to get my butt on the cushion. Repetition, repetition of good things,
mhm,
that mindfulness and all about what are you doing
mhm,
and what is the choice.
mhm,
So we do have to leave behind the idea that we know. We have
mhm,
to leave behind our junk, open up, step through the mindfulness, what we're calling mindfulness, which is this think about what you're doing. It's the opposite of mindlessness, is being present, and then moving into choosing who do I want to be? How do I want to show up with people? And asking those questions to people who are executives in positions of leadership, you would be surprised how quickly so many of them change. It's because they haven't been given the opportunity. They haven't been told that they could think that way because they were trained to be right and to win and to do the numbers and make the money.
mhm,
If you take that away from them and you let them think about it, they make other choices.
mhm.
It's amazing. Yeah.
Yeah, very, very interesting. And I am, by the way, I already registered for your seminar, and I'm so looking forward to it. And everyone, and uh, if you are not aware of this event, and you can use the link, and I put down underneath the this video, and so there's still time to register. And I think this topic is so badly needed, and nowadays I'm also very inspired and very to hear you say it. And the newer generation, they have a little bit different mindset, and so in the topic like this one, you it has a market. Let's just put that way. It has a market. That's that's very amazing. And so so how you mentioned that you are practice Buddhist, and so besides that, you also practice other type of mindfulness exercise. Is that right?
Well, I mean, I do practice some Qigong, you know, a little bit of Tai Chi, but I do prefer Qigong to Tai Chi in general because I have so many things going on. I lack the practice, repetition. So, but I do a lot of sitting meditation and a little bit of Qigong and a little bit of yoga.
Well, that's
Um,
wonderful. Yeah, I actually need to do more meditation myself. As a matter of fact, and end of May, I'm going to attend a silent retreat, which will force me do nothing but meditate. And
Mm,
um, I was told we could not speak a word, and we cannot even read a book. But
that's
but
right.
we're going to focus on meditating, and
Hmm.
I think it's going to be very very hard for me because I have a monkey mind, and but we'll see. And I think it is important for me as well as for a lot of people to meditate. And I really thank you for coming today. And I know you are very busy, and especially with all these events going on. And so thank you so much for coming.
Thank you, Violet, for having me. I really enjoyed our conversation.